Hello, art course creators. We're excited to have you here live with us today as we hear from a panel of top online art educators. We know you have what it takes to create virtual classes of your own, and we want to help you improve ratings and revenue with difference-making tips and tricks from our powerful panel. Today, here's what we will talk about: how to convince parents of the value of online art learning, how to leverage online teaching for development and fun, how to onboard and manage a large group of teachers, and how to differentiate and create your own niche in the space. So we can't wait to see where today's expert advice will take you and your business. Here's to growing your business and impacting the lives of students with incredible online art class creation. It's almost time to dive in, but first we are going to hear from Dotan Tamir, who has kind of brought us here via Click2 to have this great discussion. Dotan, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Josh. So hi all, I'm Dotan, I'm from Click2. Click2 is an end-to-end solution for enrichment providers who are actually looking to thrive in the online space, but we're not just a software platform. We actually understand what turns an online course, an online experience into an amazing experience and an amazing journey for kids. So today we have lots of interesting things planned, so stick with us all the way to the end, but that won't be hard because this discussion today is very relevant to where the industry is right now. And online obviously is here to stay, as we all estimate, and we all have to excel at it. So there's a lot to do. We got some challenging questions for our wonderful panelists, and I really want to thank this amazing panel of experts. And I'm ready. Josh, if you're ready, let's start.
I'm always ready. I've got a few housekeeping tips that we've got to go through. So we know the panel is powerful and the group of people in the audience is powerful as well. We've got founders, CEOs, owners, key executives at some of the nation's top online art course providers. So from our guests to our panelists, each panelist will have a question to answer. I will give a short bio on each one of them so they can get straight to the answer. And these questions will help you with your business. So let's meet our first panelist. It is Fei Liu. She's the founder of Winged Canvas. So Winged Canvas is an art studio and gallery that boasts a wide array of programs and services, from art camps, art classes, art parties. Winged Canvas, one-stop shop. And I love this, from taking a new finger painter to the next generation, Vincent van Gogh. Fei, your question: how do you convince parents like myself of the value of online art experiences?
That's a great question, because I know even though online learning has been around for a very long time, it's still new to the majority of us and for parents. And a lot of us are used to in-person learning, the connection of it, the tactileness of it, especially in arts. So it's a lot of people are very skeptical. And my answer is, we just let our parents try it. You know, you really have to try it and see if it's right for your child. Online learning is not the best type of learning for everybody. Obviously, there are challenges, but there are so many wonderful opportunities as well. And we've found that, it could be something very simple as having a good internet connection, right? But it's also, we found a lot of children who their artwork all the time. Now they have a lot more opportunities to connect with their teacher privately through chat or through online, through our classroom. And we found a lot of children who previously had learning challenges and learning disabilities actually thrive in the online space. So it really is about trying it out, because not all programs are the same. And, it's very different. It's a very different experience for everybody. And in terms of so Winged Canvas, before, we were an in-person studio, and we had, taught for 7 years, just like, people coming in and out of our space. And when we transitioned online, we had to figure out everything from equipment to different ways of communicating, to reminders, and also just providing free resources and valuable tips for parents, because that's something that I believe we should all be sharing. Yeah.
Hey, I know you have a unique positioning online, a unique way of really attracting the audience and showing them the great things that you're offering. I think you have a great YouTube channel. To talk more about that.
Thank you. Well, we decided, we have a duty, everybody's in lockdown, and we all know that visual arts and arts in general is really good for the soul, and especially during a time where everybody is so isolated. So we started making YouTube videos, tutorials, just showing people how to stay creative. And we have a very unique culture at Wing Canvas. We love art nerds, the people who just need to be creative, who live and breathe art, not just people who dabble once or twice, but those who are really passionate about it. It's a big part of who they are. And so over a year, we've actually grown to about 20,000. We're almost there. We're almost at 20,000 subs. People who found us all over the world, who identify with this art nerd, way of life. And so we've also accidentally built an online art community, which has really brought us so much joy. So it's really a big adventure, and I feel like there's so many opportunities with online learning, virtual learning as well, because some people need to be there live. Some people can really learn well asynchronously, but again, everybody is different.
Yeah, you are the classic case, and we love hearing these stories because we have spent a lot of time in this pandemic hearing tragic stories, but you hear those pandemic opportunities, and it sounds like, you've given away free resources, check, and you've got 20,000 people who have joined your community, which is just fantastic. So congrats on that. So I'm going to bring in Yong Chen. Yong is a professor of visual arts. He loves to create online courses and programs with new media. Yong has been a professor at Bunker Hill Community College, teaching, painting, watercolors, drawing, illustrations, interactive design, and developing online college courses with interactive media for the past 13 years. So Professor, welcome. You have got your question. It is, how do you differentiate and create your own niche?
Thank you very much, Josh. That is a great opportunity. We'll be able to tell the story about enjoying art, artist community. So first, it's just like everyone else. It's like when we started it, it's just probably not really have a clear agenda, a clear outline what we're gonna do. We all probably go into that by our passion, driven. This is because we want to share, we want to teach, we want to help others to become better, right? So it's a little searching kind of a journey days. So I always like building up community. That first thing. When I was from my first college, when I was 18 years old, I started to create college students art club, fine art society, and supported by the college. And we have a very big group. And interesting enough, right now is 40 years later, it still exists in the college. It's still running on its own. So after I came to Boston, and we learned English just like most of the immigrants, and we define our direction to see how we can fit into this new world, right? And I learned English in the college and studied graphic design and illustration, and also working in as a graphic design illustrators for children's book, and just do what I like to do, and eventually brought me back to teaching. So I actually started teaching again in this country is 27 years ago. Started from Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and this is a great college. This is where I finished my 4-year degree in illustration. So come back to that as when I started teaching, actually before I started teaching full-time at Rancourt Community College, I already have my website, yongchen.com, as a teaching platform and offering some video teaching demonstrations, mainly in watercolor, because at that time I was teaching a watercolor course called Watercolor Portraiture in Mass College of Art and Design. So I have a lot of the watercolor demonstrations on yongchen.com. And later, when YouTube became popular and available, and I started to upload my video over there. And when I started teaching at full-time at the college, and the college found that they said, wow, you have a very good channel, and maybe you want to create some online courses for some students cannot come to the college to take classes because it's some kind of very unique assistance, unique things in the community college that some students, they are single parents, some students are working parents. So they cannot come to the school for some time during the daytime. So I created an online watercolor class, 3-credit college course, and became very popular. And then I created the fundamental drawing class, and then advanced watercolor class, and so on. So because I'm teaching that online, also I use the same technology, same way that I record all my demonstrations in classes, and I put it on YouTube and let the students watch them at home before they start doing the homeworks. And then later that channel become very popular, and then become some subscribers on YouTube, they ask about, can we support you? And then we started to create our own EnjoyingArt artist community using the platform of Patreon. And then later we realized that this is not enough.
On my previous conversation with Yong, one of the things that really excited me is the fact that he's combining now arts and NFT and blockchain, and I didn't know that this combination can even exist. And then so I encourage everybody to go to Yong's website and see more about that. And it's exciting, and I'm waiting to see a blockchain art class offering coming soon from somebody. Faye, do you want to also give a perspective on creating your own niche?
Sure. I actually have a branding background. I was in advertising for 7 years, so I do know that space very well. And my tip for other online educators is to really just know your niche. We can't serve everybody. Your school, knowing your audience and who that audience serves is probably the best ingredient for branding success. For us, it's the art nerds, right? From our methodology to our calling to all the other people in our community, we all identify as art nerds. And Yong, your YouTube channel is very impressive, and I definitely see there is a niche that you found as well.
Yeah, totally. And what's really neat about Yong's answer, it started with community, and his thought process, and we all know the buzzword now is community. His thought process about community started many, many decades ago. So you've been building these communities long before the buzzword was community, which is basically, again, what we're trying to build here. And I'm going to bring somebody else into the community. Ginhee Rancourt, CEO and founder of EnjoyingArt. EnjoyingArt started in 2013. The team believes that by fostering a vibrant atmosphere to learn and inspire creativity, they are purposefully equipping young artists with the foundation to advance their confidence, ingenuity, and skill sets. So we've got your question. How do you leverage online teaching for developing character and life skills while keeping it fun? And you clearly like to keep things fun, because that Uber driver you mentioned said you like to smile a lot, and you're holding that end of the bargain up for sure. Go for it.
Well, thank you, Josh, for the very generous introduction. And thank you, Josh and Dotan, for just paving the way with your fearlessness in our space. You're the Solomons in our field, and I'm honored to be here with you all today and with my fellow panelists. Pleasure to join you. So thank you for the question. Actually, I wanted to start off by saying I didn't start this company to be a founder or CEO. I actually started it because I became legal guardian of my 7 younger brothers and sisters overnight in 2013. And I needed to do something, as Theodore Roosevelt would say, with what you have and where you are. So it was a very humble journey for me. And through the process of that, I think I started to understand, what are parents really looking for? And here in my area in Northern California, parents aren't so much looking for, their child to exceed them in resource accumulation or maybe in their education levels. They really want their child to make an impact. They want their child to go further than they have and to do more good in the world. So what are the things that build character, that get a child ready to make a global impact? What are the things that we can use in art to help prepare a child and nurture them to really think forward and to think of, how can I be my best and highest self? So some of the things that we've learned, especially during COVID over the last few months, is if we can inspire learners to take ruthless initiative in the problem-solving process and present them with multiple ways to solve problems in their art, whether they're first not happy with the first draft that they create. That's such a natural human reaction. It's like perfectionism and trying to achieve what I see in my head, but I can't get it out on my paper or my tablet. How to work past that, because ultimately in life, they're going to have problems to solve. So can we cultivate the ability to adapt and bounce back quickly and really learn from just, inevitable mistakes and errors, and teach a child to demonstrate courage in trying something new, keeping an open heart and understanding that in this whole learning adventure, there's going to be moments where they'll say, I failed and I messed up. But actually, that's the most beautiful part, because then through that, they learn the value in failing. They learn that obstacles can be tackled, and there's joy in learning through multiple iterations, because we have to try that in our life. I know my fellow panelists as entrepreneurs are probably no stranger to the fact that they have to, fall down, get up, fall down, get up. And the faster you can do that, the faster you'll be ready to make that impact in the world, because you'll understand empathy and compassion. And so, in our art space, I think it's about the joy of creativity. It's the one subject that there isn't like this hard right and wrong, like math or science. It's just all about expression and taking the emotion from the heart and sharing that joy. And art classes give them the skill to develop creative confidence to be bold communicators that way. So the character traits that I told my siblings as I was praising them, they're now all flown the nest, so I'm an empty nester, but I would tell them things like, guys, when you do bad, like mess up, break something, it's teaching you things like grit. Well, what does that mean? That means that you have a tough outer shell and you can take feedback and criticism, and that you become hungry for that. And so I think a child that's entering the world ready to say, at least I'm going to take this first step and try. I'm going to try my first stab at it. And if it's a flop, I have people around me who are going to give me the feedback and input. I'm going to soak that up and go forward even stronger. And so with online art classes, though we can't tangibly touch and help our students hands-on like we can in person, we're able to just reach across and say, show us your best effort, put your heart into it. And when they hold up their art in the screen, in the classes, in the live classes, and they show the teacher, and the teacher says, I love the originality. I like that you took that concept and you made it your own. I think the confidence it gives the child internally, it does give them kind of an understanding that even though it's not perfect, it's the process of trying. It's the fact that I made the effort and gave it my best. And that's what we're trying to do here at EnjoyingArt. I know that's what my fellow panelists are all working hard day and night to do. And yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
So, Tom, you don't know anything about failing, right?
No, what
You
is
got to
failing?
do it. Exactly.
No, never heard about failing. But
Okay.
Ginny, it's, first of all, it's so inspiring. Your story and how you are using this platform of teaching to really develop those life skills at kids. And you did speak about how you're doing it online as well. But I'll play the devil's advocate here and say, wait, kids are at their home. You have them for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours in front of the screen. Does it really make an impact when they're at home? Is online really working? Is there actually something that's not working, that's working better in person? Or did you, and I'm asking a lot of questions, so pick one. And did you find anything that actually worked even better? Maybe some opportunity in the online space that didn't exist in the in-person for making this kind of personal growth and life skills?
You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. Here's what I'll say. When I first started off, we were all brick and mortar, and I was opening in high-end shopping malls. It was kind of gutsy, but I made a lot of mistakes, and I made a lot of errors, and I learned. In that essence, the goal of expansion was to do more good for more kids at a faster rate. So I thought before, hey, if I open more physical brick and mortar sites, I'll reach more communities, will help low-income learners, will help give access to kids who don't have the ability to join, and give scholarships. That was my first thought. But just kind of like what I said earlier, it was about kind of learning, does this work, does this not? And then when we went online, I realized, all right, we are able to reach more children at a faster rate and do more good. So we can still do give back and we can still make that impact, but we learned that on a broader scale, we can serve at a higher level. One of the things I would say is that what's meaningful for children, and I think what keeps them coming back, is a personal connection with their instructor. So if it's a live class and the teacher is able to call out those students by name, that individual attention means a lot to the child. Also, their community of learners, developing these friendships with children around the world. I think that's the most beautiful part.
So make it fun and make a connection. And I want, before we move over to Betty Fetter, there's a lot of discussion going on in the chat. We all want to listen to Betty, but I think there's some questions that Yong can answer in the chat to some people. So we want to make sure we're helping out. Betty Fetter. Betty and I have actually been working together in the enrichment space for many years. We hadn't spoken until today, but here we are in the online space. Betty is the founder of Young Rembrandts. She's an Amazon #1 bestseller with her book Being Visual and her self-titled blog, bettyfetter.com. So Betty, here is your question. How do you maintain your high standards of teaching when transitioning to online? And clearly you've got some very high standards because you have how many franchises in Young Rembrandts?
Well, we were at 100 franchises and we have some international. So we've lost a few during this season, but we love our franchisees. So they're all over the States, Canada, and we have India, and we have some classes starting in China. And we're a little different than everybody in that, well, first I do want to pause and say, Ginhee, that was lovely. You are so inspiring. I think everybody on this call just feels so much better about doing art class anything. You are wonderful. But we're working with young kids, and our idea is that we're going to be the ones that could teach these fundamental how to draw skills. So when they get into these other more creative environments, they have that fundamental understanding. So for us, you know, we teach 3 to 5 in elementaries. We knew right away, don't even go with those 3 to 5s right off the bat. You know, let's not worry about trying to get a 4-year-old in front of the computer, and we focus on elementary. We love to teach live, but we moved into that online space during COVID, and we have some pre-recorded lessons that we deliver through a different site called Art Kids Rock, kind of a subscription idea. But our online classes are taught by our franchisees and their teachers. But what we found really important was identifying the key things in your method. So for us, it's this very step-by-step instruction. It's a lot of visual step-by-step drawings because we are wanting to learn, I want to draw a face. How do I draw a body? How do I draw a cat? And, but the other part is really good camera, good lighting. And for us, it's a lot about the communication. Because when you're talking to a bunch of adults or 65 and over, very different than when you're talking to 6 and 8-year-olds. And so a lot of checking in with them, a lot of simple directions and language, but a lot of, so to me, it's curriculum, teaching method, and then for us, it's then your language. And so I think for anybody, identify what you have that's unique. And don't try to be everything, but identify your unique points and make sure that you're really clear in putting that in your classes.
Clearly, you've done that with all those franchises that you have. I have a personal story about one of your franchisees. When the pandemic started, my daughter took one of your classes. She was 6 at the time. And, I'm downstairs working. My wife is in the basement working, and I come upstairs to check. And the camera, which is, you would think focused on her, was going all these different directions. And I said, Camila, mute it. And I said, what is going on? She said, Poppy, I think they're looking at my hand, and your instructor was watching her draw and making sure that she was kind of holding the crayon correctly and saying, hey, you want to draw on the lines or outside the lines. All that they were doing at that point was encouraging her. So in that respect, maybe the online space provides you with an opportunity to have more hands-on and connection with the kids. So Dotan, have you taken any online art classes like Camila, my daughter?
I wish, because my art skills are not as good. I'm more of a techie person, but I really admire art, and even had a museum subscription here in Tel Aviv for a couple of years. And but Betty, I really relate to what Josh is saying, and I wonder, it's always hard to find the right trainers, the right instructors, and keep them in the high standards, especially when you run at so many locations around the country. And so I imagine it's already hard to do it in the in-person space. Did you find opportunities in the online space for, did you ever hire, maybe it's a question to your franchisees, but did they hire new instructors when it was still online and they had to do all the hiring and training and monitoring online?
Well, most of our franchisees had a staff of, some of them had as many as like 30 to 80 part-time instructors. So when things closed down, we didn't have 30 to 50 online classes going. And so, and some people weren't comfortable being online. So that's another point, is make sure you're using someone who is very comfortable in that online space, and that you trained them. If it's not you, make sure you're training them, because teaching online is different than teaching in person. And so, yeah, we put a lot of time into training how to teach online.
Faye wanted to talk about teaching method.
Yes, Betty, your story is super inspiring, and congratulations for expanding all over the world. That's amazing. I definitely agree with Betty in terms of the teaching method and how important that is, because the creative process is a giant mystery to a lot of people. And I think especially for kids when they're learning and kind of discovering how to really go from an idea to something that they're really proud of and something that is meaningful. So our teaching methodology at Wing Canvas is the NERD teaching methodology, and the N stands for nurture, so always showing inspiration, because artists are like batteries. We can't just keep creating without absorbing and learning. So nurturing with visual examples and constantly inspiring our students is a big part of the process. The E stands for explore. So discussing those concepts and really, understanding what we saw, and not just copying something, because copying something isn't really that important anymore. It's really about expressing and actually, being able to interpret what you've observed. Then comes the recreate part, which is what Betty was talking about, the how, because schools don't really teach the how. And the how is so important. And that's when you actually learn the step-by-step, how to start with shapes, how to deconstruct, things like that, your elements and principles and how to apply them. And then the crucial part I think that's missing is the design part. So the D stands for design. The design is really making it your own and really making an effort to see how you can apply your art skills to practical things, like designing things that people use every day and making, being a source of joy. So the design part is also very practical. It's the applied arts. And I think that's, I'm interested in really learning more about all of your teaching methodologies, because I think it's a very unique aspect of teaching online and having a school.
I want to let our professor weigh back in here, who's taught for many years design and kind of going backwards, all the elements you've talked about. Yong, can you talk about also that offline and online, the differences that are, we know many of them very clear, but talk about some of the nuances.
That's just great. That's just great. I'm probably a very rare situation that I'm teaching both online and offline. And for example, the watercolor class at the college, I teach a couple sections actually in classroom. I will see them like every week to help them how to progress, start from how to use the water, how to mix the color, and so on. And I also have a couple online classes, which is very much the same content. I use the video as the learning teaching method, and then also have a way for them to upload the work every week before the deadline for review and so on. But by the end of the semester, over the 10 years observation, looking at the difference between the two sides of learnings. And I feel like more students success. We talk about those adult students. They are about 20, early 20 or mid 20. More students actually successful through their semester learning in watercolor or drawing than the student actually coming into the real classroom. That is just very interesting. This is not really the reason 2 years. It actually back to 2009 or 2010, and
You're
that
a
is
pioneer.
that is I would say that I would take that title, because most art colleges now, they don't even have much of studio art classes offered online. And I would start it full 3 college credits starting from 2009. So it's a very so I have been learning how to actually create a unique way to communicate so that it's very similar to the real face-to-face class. But however, somehow the advantage that what the technology offer, it actually makes students have more focus and concentration, continue on their learning, not just like, oh, and the 3 hours is up. Okay, now I have to get out the classroom, and the next class is going to come in. And then when you go home, you probably already lost the interest. So while you're at home, you will be able to sit down and start learning, follow the video and doing your exercise and getting your own prop, put it in front of you and draw and painting. And you can go all the way like 5 hours, 10 hours. This is what those students are doing really great. At the end of the semester, they can actually, they started with didn't know how to draw a line, a shade, but at the end, they can draw themselves. They can draw their mom, they can draw their girlfriend, boyfriend. Yeah. Oh my God, this is
Yong,
incredible.
you've got some fans in the chat. So I want to move you back over to the chat so that you can, say hi to all your adoring fans. But I wanted to bring one thing up before we kind of roll in and talk a little bit to Dotan. Yong, when you said that there was as much or maybe even more success online, I saw Betty kind of go like this. I don't have the value or the ability to do instant replay, but you made some face and noise. And I feel like it might have been potentially your heart breaking a little bit? You know, can you talk about how you've seen clearly it move from in-person to online?
Well, no, I was making more of a face about the idea that you would go to college to learn art and you don't have studio art classes. Like that
Mhm.
is just ridiculous. Or even if you're going to do things online, do the classic. You know, I mean, like this idea that we're all going to become graphic artists or illustrators, but we don't really know how to draw or the foundation of art, it just makes me crazy.
Okay.
But
So
I
the
agree with Young that the amount kids can repeat, or adults, the best part of online, it's eternal. I mean, you could do that same video again and again and again until you master it, and it gives you the
Mhm.
next idea and the next. So, you know, there's so much inspiration and potential and learning opportunity in that online.
That's awesome. We're excited about it. That's what we're here for. I want to talk a little bit to Dotan and our chat that you guys can't see. You know, our panelists we want to talk about this, we want to talk about that. So we might have to have round 2 of this, which is perfectly wonderful. So Dotan, you know, can you talk about the experiences that you specifically have had, and me on the periphery a little bit, of talking to enrichment providers and how they are taking their experiences online, and as you've gone under the hood with them, what you're seeing and how you can help others?
Yeah, sure. As you said, the chat has a lot of interesting topics. And
Yeah.
what I would say is, before I even talk on that, let's put the link to the Facebook group on the chat, because I think
Cool.
we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, and we have some nice stuff to show you before we wrap up. But let's continue the conversation on the Facebook group. There are CEOs, owners, program directors of online academies, online classes, online enrichment providers, not just from the art space, but from other space that are really looking to meet people like them, like you. So join us on that group, and let's keep the conversation going and support each other on this journey. At Click2, you know, we've been putting some hard work here, and we're seeing the results pour in. We're talking to entrepreneurs and business owners almost every day. We're learning about the needs of online enrichment providers, what works well, what to stray away from. I actually spoke to each and every of the panelists here before, and learned so much from those conversations as well. So I'm happy to take what I've learned and look under the hood of your offering in your operation. I'm talking to you in the audience, and we can dig in to see if there are some recommendations for improvements to make. So we've actually opened up several time slots in the next week or two to be able to meet everyone who joined the webinar today. There's going to be a link to a Click2 page here on the chat where you can find the best time for a good one-on-one talk. Now, so let's keep the conversation going in the Facebook group. Let's meet one-on-one. And let me tell you a little bit about what Click2 is, because I think that's very relevant for probably almost everybody here in the audience. You know, at Click2, we've created an effective, easy-to-use platform for live class enrichment providers. You know, we understand the process. There's a lot of overhead administrative, building all those classes and monitoring them and making sure they're working and everything is really, you know, seamlessly moving. There are many moving parts. So Click2 can really help you eliminate all this administrative overhead and the technology headache, and let you focus on perfecting your programs, scaling your audience, which on top of all makes a much greater impact. Let me show you a 1-minute example of how it looks like, and then we'll be back for some news and wrap up.
When I build an online live learning program, I use a calendar to schedule the video meetings and then assign them to our teaching staff. For processing new student accounts, I use a registration system and a payment processing software. Then I go to my email to send video conferencing links and to communicate with the cohort groups. To record attendance and track student progress, I also use different spreadsheets and lists. Or I can manage my online education business all in one place with Click2. Now I can open a single course or scale up by providing multiple programs with various cohort options. In just a few clicks, I can publish each cohort option on our course catalog for easy registration and payment. Then, everything comes together on the agenda screen, where the teaching staff can easily access their assigned classes. Our teaching staff takes advantage of a multitude of tools that are designed to deliver an immersive live learning experience. Each student uses their secure personal access link to join class, eliminating the use of multiple links and a password. Click2 automatically tracks attendance, student engagement metrics, and post-session feedback, which help me make data-driven decisions. Join the cohort-based learning revolution and scale up your education business. Get started now at click2.live.
All right. So Joyce is going to put the links in the chat now, so you can all join us on the Facebook group and find a one-on-one time as well. Josh, back to you. Or you want me to say some news about Click2?
We've got
I'll
the journalist in me who went to Northwestern, close to where Betty's from, says we've got some news that you should share.
No, yeah, we were very proud. It was just announced yesterday that Click2 was selected to the Elite 200, which is basically a group of the most innovative and influencing early stage startups in the education technology space. Yeah, so we're very proud. We made a great progress in the past year, and we'll come into San Diego in April. So to hope to meet some of you in person over there.
This Elite 200 is a real honor. It's an honor to be a part of this team, recognized, and we're going to San Diego for the ASU GSV conference. I can promise there's a lot of failure that was involved in getting there, but as we all know, and we learned in one of our previous webinars, we were talking about chess. You can win, you can draw, or you can learn. And similar to what was being discussed today about just art and going for it. So we appreciate you all coming and going for it and joining this panel. We could go for hours and days discussing. It seems like there's so much energy and experience in this group. Let's take it all over to that community. The information is there to keep the conversation going. I'll talk to Dotan and see if we can get round two. But we're going to get out of here right at 45 minutes. I appreciate everybody for staying on time and joining us.
Thank you, everybody on the panel. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, totally. Fun. Thank you, everybody.